For years, the gaming community asked Ubisoft for one thing: make an Assassin's Creed game set in feudal Japan. It was the ultimate dream setting for fans of the franchise. Ninjas, samurai, hidden blades cutting through the mist beneath cherry blossoms in full bloom. When Assassin's Creed Shadows was finally announced, expectations were through the roof. But as the months went by, what was supposed to be Ubisoft's grand comeback turned into an endless cycle of historical controversies, strategic delays, apology statements, and above all, a deep and bitter feeling of déjà vu. The harsh truth is that Shadows isn't just another troubled release in Ubisoft's recent history. It's the final, most painful symptom of a chronic disease that has been eating away at this franchise for years. Ever since Ubisoft decided out of pure corporate greed to turn Assassin's Creed into a generic open-world RPG, the soul of the series has slowly disappeared. Today, we're going to break down exactly how and why this franchise fell so far, how the transition to the RPG formula damaged its identity, and why Shadows feels like the culmination of that downfall. To understand the bottomless hole Shadows has fallen into, we need to go back to 2017 with the release of Origins. At the time, the classic Assassin's Creed formula was getting stale and desperately needed a break. The shift toward an open-world role-playing game, clearly inspired by the massive success of The Witcher 3, was initially seen as a refreshing and welcome change. Exploring ancient Egypt as Bayek was genuinely fascinating. But what should have been a bold, one-time reinvention became a rigid and lazy formula inside Ubisoft's offices. The company realized that gigantic games, stuffed with microtransactions, repetitive towers, and maps the size of actual countries, could generate absurd amounts of money. And that's when the corporate monster was born. With Odyssey and Valhalla, the very essence of being an assassin was thrown out the window. Remember when the hood actually meant stealth? When the hidden blade could take down an unsuspecting target with a single strike? When the story revolved around an ancient secret conflict between the assassins and the Templars? Forget all of that. In Ubisoft's role-playing game era, you became either an unstoppable Greek demigod or a Viking brute who storms entire fortresses through the front door, swinging an axe at everything in sight. Stealth became completely optional. Parkour turned into an automated and lifeless system that lets you climb practically any rock face like you're Spider-Man. And the maps became empty landscapes packed with repetitive icons and meaningless treasure hunts. And it's in this state of extreme formula fatigue that Assassin's Creed Shadows finally arrives. On paper, the concept sounded brilliant. To address criticism that the older games had lost their focus on stealth, Ubisoft split the campaign between two protagonists with completely different playstyles. On the stealth side, we have Naoe, a shinobi focused on shadows, grappling hooks, and classic infiltration. On the other side, there's Yasuke, a samurai built around heavy combat and direct confrontation. But in practice, the game exposes Ubisoft's biggest problem today: a complete lack of creative identity, and a fear of genuinely taking risks. Before the game even launched, it became surrounded by major historical and cultural controversies, forcing Ubisoft to delay the project multiple times in an attempt to contain the damage to its public image. But Shadow's problems go far beyond the controversies surrounding it. The real issue lies within the game's design itself. Playing as Yasuke in feudal Japan feels like the complete opposite of what being an assassin is supposed to be. It's essentially a slower, heavier combat experience where subtlety takes a backseat. And when you take control of Naoe, the game desperately tries to return to the series' roots, only to crash headfirst into an aging engine and the same recycled mechanics involving empty enemy camps that we've been doing since 2018. It's the very definition of more of the same, just wrapped in a beautiful Japanese aesthetic to disguise the lack of substance underneath. The biggest problem with Assassin's Creed today isn't the lack of talent among the developers, it's the assembly line. Ubisoft has become a factory for mass-produced video games. They take the same generic open-world template, fill it with question marks that serve no purpose other than artificially inflating playtime beyond 100 empty hours. Add an in-game store selling colorful skins at ridiculous prices, and ship the whole thing with a pile of bugs on day one. Playing any game from this role-playing game era, from Origins all the way to Shadows, has stopped feeling like entertainment and started feeling like office work. You're not playing because you're invested in a compelling story. You're not playing because you genuinely care about the characters. You're playing while watching a progress bar slowly fill up and collecting loot with slightly better stats than the gear you picked up 5 minutes ago. The stories have lost their dramatic focus. Connections to the classic assassin lore have become cheap references thrown in just to justify putting the franchise's name on the box. And immersion has been buried beneath an avalanche of floating damage numbers and critical hits. The widespread disappointment surrounding Shadows isn't because the game is unplayable, and it isn't because it looks bad. The real frustration comes from knowing exactly what Ubisoft had in its hands. This was supposed to be the definitive feudal Japan video game. Instead, we got another corporate product designed by spreadsheets. At the end of the day, Assassin's Creed Shadows and this entire role-playing game era serve as a sad reminder that Ubisoft has completely forgotten what turned this franchise into a global cultural phenomenon in the first place. The secret to its success was never the absurdly massive maps. It was never the endless number of armor pieces with different stats. And it was never the exhausting grind. It was the dense atmosphere, the sense of mystery and investigation, the indescribable feeling of being an invisible ghost moving through a crowd, and the deep connection to some of the greatest moments in human history. As long as Ubisoft's leadership continues to prioritize short-term profit over artistic creativity and continues pushing this corporate, mass-produced formula, every new release will generate more apathy and internet jokes than genuine respect. The hidden blade of this franchise has lost its edge. And it's going to take much more than an exotic setting or another corporate apology to bring this series back to its former glory. Now I want to hear your honest opinion. Do you still have hope for Assassin's Creed Shadows? Or did you give up on the franchise when it became a role-playing game? What was the last Assassin's Creed game that truly hooked you from beginning to end? Let me know in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you in the next one.